Okay, people, everything's all fuzzy. So it's October 5th, 2018. I'm in the war room within the housing crises right now, and I think, you know, you got the little bit of year-end canning, which I'm burnt out with now. And I'm forcing myself to do it, if I do it. And yesterday I was making green tomato relish again. And sweet pickles. Anyway, the last time I did an early morning video, because it's October 5th at 7:30 in the morning, Shimei got murdered. 2 hours later. I did a video at 6:30 in the morning, and she was hot capped by 8:30 or so. 9. She was completely dead by 10. But that's not what I'm going to talk about right now, people. What I'm going to talk about is the housing crises and what's happening in the province of British Columbia, Canada. And if it's happening in the province of British Columbia, Canada, it's happening elsewhere. And it's happening for a reason, and a big part of that reason, people, is because for the next 15 to 20 years, we've got the baby boomers coming in, demanding to be spoiled, right? They want their pension plans, they want their life insurance policies, you know, a lot of government union workers from back in the day, and then, you know, they want the best health care. They need access to organs, people. When you have a huge influx of old people coming in, you know, thousands and thousands a year, right? Out of those thousands, hundreds are going to need some kind of organ, right? So anyway, that's a different story, right? So in light of that, because a lot of these pensioners are government related, that puts a lot of pressure on the provincial government to pay out those pension plans and whatnot, and benefit packages, healthcare packages, and dental packages, and everything else that goes along with being a government employee. Right? I'm so bad my eyes are. So, okay, so they have to get their money from somewhere, people. Right? British Columbia, Canada, we do not manufacture things and export. The only thing that we really export, people, is trees, logs, right? And uranium. Apparently we have uranium out here, right? And we have a, what is it called? A dam that creates energy, right? But outside of that, we don't manufacture anything and then export it out into the world. You know, we don't even sustain ourselves. We import a lot of our own food, well, a lot of other people's food, and we don't necessarily grow our own food because our own lands are being chopped up into parcels to build homes that only somebody that can peek through their curtain and look out can live in. Literally, people, this is what's happening. Because those are the ones that add to the tax base to pay those pensioners, right? As the people themselves, as the people themselves, right? People like myself, right? The lower class, you know, the impoverished, you know, we're just being played off for a death sentence. Like, that's what British Columbia is coming down to for a lot of people, because there is no housing. And once you get on that sliding effect of sliding down, it gets closer to death. And it's really unfortunate that this is what this province and country has come to. And it has. So, the only way I can explain that, where people can say, oh, she just doesn't know what she's talking about, is I'm going to have to bring out some wipeout boards and some paper and I have to do a little bit of research and put the numbers in. I have to, people, because I sit here and I ask myself, I say, God, why am I still alive? Why do you keep me alive? What is my purpose in life? You know, well, do you see this hat right here? Maybe you can see it, but I can't see it. Where is it? There it is. Right there. This one. Do you see that one? Well, I'm going to put that one on today. I'm going to go over to the little house. I'm going to walk you around. Walk you in it. And we're going to talk about it. And then that's the introduction to the wipeout boards. Because after that, at some point throughout my day, I already got a spot for it. And I've got paper. Because someone said instead of doing it on a wipeout board, do it on paper so that you have that record, right? Versus and then starting all over again, right? And I'm going to fill in some numbers here, and I'm going to show how there is genocide in Canada being perpetrated upon the Canadian people. And I'm going to explain why, for the various reasons, which one is the baby boomers coming in, demanding the best of everything, holding the most wealth, and expecting massive amounts of pension payouts, right? And this is all across the continent, okay? This isn't just happening here in British Columbia. It's happening in the States, everywhere. And one of the things about the Republican Party in the United States of America, they know this. So one way to tackle the problem coming in with not enough money, right, was to union bust, at the lower level of the union, to stop that cycle, and to obviously cut back on social programs that helped everyday people with their lives in a capitalistic society where it requires money to live, basically, right? That ultimately is bringing genocide to thousands and millions of people across this continent. That's what's happening. So I've got to take the time to try and explain that on black and white with paper and periodically videos, right? So that's what I'm going to work on for the next couple, 2-3 weeks, because for the last 3-4 weeks, people, I have been looking for houses to accommodate people that need housing. Okay, they're not bad people, right? Some people have moved on, the troublemakers have moved on, the bullies have moved on, and right now I'm pretty much left with very vulnerable people that have no place to go, right? And it's including my daughter, who's even more vulnerable, right? And I sit here feeling completely helpless, and I ask the good Lord, what the heck am I here for? I mean, obviously I'm here for my grandkids, but if I can't provide a safety net for my grandkids, right? Think about it, people. Me, a Canadian born in this country, right? Founded an international nonprofit trying to do good for my country, for the people that come, whether they were born here or whether they came from somewhere else. Back in the day, I wanted to contribute back into society so that we could have a prosperous and a healthy society versus a dynamic and a predatory and a I don't know what kind of society we live in, but it's very freaking backwards, people, when you can't even find a small little basement suite that's affordable. Seriously. If I was to lose my house, and like to put it in a nutshell, if I was to lose my house right now, if my landlady came along and my landlord came along, and pulled the rug out from underneath my feet and said, that's it, you gotta go, there would be, I wouldn't say it would happen, but there would be a very high probability that I wouldn't be able to keep my grandkids because I'd end up homeless. And if I become homeless, my grandkids become homeless. So this is the future that the politicians in British Columbia, Canada has brought forth, along with the rest of the politicians across the continent, as they bring in immigrants into the country that push out the indigenous people. And it's not because the immigrants, so-called, maybe need a place to live because they're running away from problems in their own country. Is to stimulate the economy, not for the people that live in the community, outside of the ones that are demanding their pension plans, right? And the best of the health care and anything else that they demand when they're in their elderly years, because they worked for the union, because for some reason union people that work for the government, and Uncle John would have told you this, put themselves up here, and what they live for is their portfolios as into how many pension plans, how many life insurance policies, how many benefit plans they can accumulate over a period of 25 to 30, 40 years of working, so that when they retire, they have their nest egg. Well, we're coming into one big-ass freaking nest egg, people. And the only thing that's propping that up are two things that I can think of at this point. And I will write it down on this board. One is the housing market. All these old houses are being torn down to build unaffordable housing that crunches people together with less resources available in the community in terms of food, or being able to grow your own food, or any of that. They don't even build in real parks. Right? Nothing. Oh, it's fuzzy. Come on. Oh yes, I'm on that speaker. But anyway, it still goes back to something is better than nothing, right? So I don't remember what I was talking about, because I was trying to fix my problem. I thought I could jiggle that and it would make that work, but it didn't. Anything disconnected to disconnect. So anyway, I don't know what I was talking about. Completely slipped my mind. I should have taken some notes, right? All I know, people, is right now we have a serious problem. Like a serious problem. And the best way for me to either, one, write a book and hope that people read it one day, or maybe just do quick style and bring it to a board and somebody else can write the book for me. Right? Because there's not too many things that I can do right now, people, to help people with this situation. Where's my hat? Do you see it? I'm going to put that hat on today when I'm up by the little house. Anyway, that I can do. And then when I do that, I'm going to write somebody in City Hall. I already have a person in mind. I'm going to explain my experiences of what I went through in that house, and what I'm going through right now, and what other people are having to go through. I went yesterday, people, listen to this one. This just, it's kind of important because I don't quite understand it. They were obviously lying. Somebody was lying to me yesterday. Okay? So, I'll try and keep this short. Maybe what I'll do is, because it's dragging out, right? I'll upload this so that when I start fresh, right, it will be focused on the house and then bring in whatever versus 2-hour video. But I want to say this. This is what I'm up against. I'm looking for housing. I've been looking anywhere from 5-bedroom to 4 bedrooms, 3. Right? I need the whole house. I can't have one up, somebody else downstairs, because you're dealing with people that sometimes you just don't know what you're going to get. And it's not the other people's fault, right? People just show up. Or whatever. Or just, right? I don't want to stereotype, or what I'm saying is okay, let me tell the story and then you'll hear it that way. So I phone up and, it's a 3-bedroom, 60% hydro. And I'm like, okay. So I think, okay, well, phone anyway, find out who's living down in the basement, because there's not too many choices here, right? Thinking it's a basement, right? And anyway, the dude says, well, because it's for October 1st. And then he says, well, there's a, because I said, well, who's in the basement? Like, do you live in the basement? And he goes, no, it's not a basement. It's off to the side and it's empty. And I'm like, empty? Oh, okay. So, how much is it going to cost me to rent the whole house? right? Because I need the whole house. It's better for me just to have the whole house, because then it's easier for me to work with the people in the house, assuming there is no mutiny. And as long as the landlord is working with me, there should be no mutiny. Not to say that the landlord in this house wasn't working with me, because he was. It's just that house was short term. I want long term. And if any bullies move in, I want those bullies out. And I can't necessarily do it by myself if the tenants don't take it serious that it's my house. Right? And then try and do that mutiny thing like they did with this one. So anyway, he says, oh, okay, well, you're going to come see it at 7. And I said, okay. But he says, phone me first. So anyway, I tried to phone him. He didn't answer. And I thought, to heck with it. I'm going to go see. He said 7. I'm going to show up for 7. Right? Because he was willing to consider renting me the whole house. $1,200 for the 2-bedroom little whatever that was empty, and then $1,800 for the 3-bedroom with the bathroom. So it would have been 2 bathrooms, because of 2 separate suites, right? 5 bedrooms, and yeah, and that would and I offered to build him a little greenhouse if he had available space in his backyard, because I'm coming into windows and stuff like that, right? So I'm coming in with something, right? If he'd like it, right? And so that's $3,000, people, for a 5-bedroom freaking house. An old bungalow. Okay? Something that's already 40, 50, 60 years. That's slated for fucking demolition within the next 5 to 10 years. Trust me. Because I already see it on the road happening. Okay? So, I show up. I get out, walk around, do whatever. And, knock, right? And I'm looking in and I see somebody walk through the empty suite. Because it's just one little rancher that's been probably used to have a garage, and the garage was made into a 2-bedroom little suite. So you do the math. It wasn't very big, people. It really wasn't very big. And, so, it's this, I gotta tell this story, okay? Because it doesn't seem honest. The story doesn't seem honest, okay? So, because when I phoned him, I always tell the people, right? I work on a nonprofit. I work on housing displaced people. I don't call them homeless. None of that. I just say displaced people, right? That need housing. And, or maybe vulnerable people, but mostly displaced people, right? And, he told me, because I said, well, would that, is that okay, right? Like, you have to understand, I'm working with displaced people, right? I have reference. That's what I said. I have reference, so it's not like I'm coming in just, whatever, saying anything and doing anything. I do have reference. I do work on this. I don't just, this is work, people. I just don't get paid for it, okay? So, anyway, he told me he wanted a woman, like a mother with a couple of kids. That's what he said. That's what he would prefer. And I said, oh, okay. I said, but would you be, would you consider me renting the whole house if you don't rent that out to a mother with 2 kids? And he said he would. And I said, okay, well then I'd like to see it. So we made the appointment for 7. So when I get there, even though he didn't answer his phone, because he told me that he's in construction, and I was supposed to call a half an hour before I go to confirm, and he didn't answer his phone, I thought I'd take a chance and just go, right? Because he did say 7, right? So I get there, and then as I'm walking around, I see somebody walk. I go around, and there's this woman standing there with another woman and a young boy, right? A young man. He's like, well, he said he was 14, but he looked more like 10, 11. And then a teenager or something, a young, in her 20s, or, late teens girl, right? And another girl. So there was like, the way it worked out, people, was, I said, oh, hi, how are you? Like, I'm here to look at the house, and are you the landlord? And she goes, oh, no. Well, we're just looking too. I said, oh, okay, well, who's in charge? She goes, well, nobody. And I'm like, well, you know, how did you get in? Right? Somebody let you in. Oh, well, the landlord told us that he hid the key and he told us where it was at. And I'm like, oh, okay. Now, right from the get-go, that's a red fucking flag. Somebody's lying. Right? You know? So, okay, but you can't say, oh, well, you're lying. You know, sure, the landlord just gave you the key, right? You know, and he doesn't fucking know you. Okay, I believe that like I got 15 holes in my head, right? Like... This is what I mean. We live in a backward fucking society, people. This is backwards. This is backwards. There's nothing normal about this shit. Right? But I'm there. Okay. You know, take it for face value. They're honest people. They're not lying. Why would they lie? The landlord trusted them. Don't feel jealous, right? That's what I tell myself. So, okay. And I said, well, can I look? I'd like to just, I'm here now. I'd really like to see what, you know, you get for $1,200. I said, are you wanting this place? They said yes. They said yes. And I'm like, okay. It looks like what, you know, if I was the landlord looking for something in particular, and there's me and there's them, and they fit that mold, or that request, or whatever it is, right? Landlords are not supposed to discriminate, but they do. So anyway... what do you call it? I look around, and I'm telling you, people, it was no bigger than a freaking 2-car garage, okay? It was nice, it was clean, it was newly built, but that's all it was. It was very small for $1,200 plus 40% hydro. Right? And I noticed they don't put, like, carpets and anything anymore, and these hardwood floors and these... glass freaking tiles that they put in the bathrooms and the kitchens and anywhere else where they can put them, they're hard on your feet. So anyway, it was like freshly painted and it was clean. There's no debate about that, but for $1,200 it was very, 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 very small. And I told him that. I said, you know, if you're moving in, good, you know, good, God bless you, right? You know, you need it, you're here first, and you're what the landlord's looking for, then God bless you, you know, but look around for a bigger place, because for what you're paying, you deserve better. I don't care who you are, right, in terms of space, right? Anyway, their story, we ended up chatting, and they came from Punjabi, because I asked them where they came from. They said Punjabi. And apparently the mother with her son, who was apparently 14, and her daughter, who was a little older, came to Canada to visit for a month, and then the son and the mum were going back to India while the daughter was going to stay behind, and then quite possibly continue living in that little suite with her friend, who was the one I was mostly talking to, with another girl or two moving in. And then, of course, I told them about the suite next door coming up for, what do you call it, for October 1st. And they acted like they didn't know. And they were completely surprised. And I'm like, okay, well, you know, maybe you, before you rent this one, maybe you might want to consider renting the other one for 18, because there is 4 of you, and, you know, you're, right, if you're going to rent that, you might as well try and get the better one, because you're already paying too much for what you're renting for. So unless you're satisfied to pay $1,200 and live in a sardine can, right, then so be it. But that's because that's what's happening, people. People are being forced into sardine cans, and they're lucky to fucking get them if they find them. Because that's going to be for the wipeout board, because you just don't understand how angry I am about this situation. So let me just finish with the story. They asked the young man, right, you know, because I said, well, where are you guys from? They said Punjab. And I said, oh, okay, lots of Punjabis out here. And well, they asked me how I felt about Punjab. This is what the young man said. Little boy, he says, what do you think about Punjab? And I said, well, this is what I think about Punjab. When I become successful with the non-profit, and I flat out said this, I said, because there's 20 million homeless children in the country of India that don't have a place to live and get enough to eat and all this other stuff, I said, I will build schools in India to help those children. That's my opinion of India. Punjab, wherever. India. Just India. Right? And then I told him that I made a promise to a little Indian girl from India that when I become successful with the nonprofit, that's what we're going to do. I told that young man, I said, there's lots of rich guys around here. Lots of rich Punjabis and other people. I didn't put the full plate in with the Punjabi community, but there's enough of them around here that if they wanted to start building a few schools for a few children in India, there would be nothing stopping them except themselves. Seriously. And because I made a promise to that little girl, I reminded that little boy that I made a promise. Right? And then I told him, like, you know, I'll phone the landlord tomorrow. And if you decide not to take it, and he wants to rent it to me as a whole, I'll take it as a whole. And I will integrate people that hopefully will be much more productive than this initial batch that I fell into. Right? And some of them were on house probation. In other words, if I keep moving along and I get into number house 3, 4, and 5, and 6, and 7, they can move into maybe house number 4 or 5. Some of them can wait for house number 9 before I'd give them another chance. Right? So anyway, there's a whole lot more to that story. Honestly, I don't think they were being honest with me. I think they were just scouting out the situation at hand. Right? But then, you know, there is no stamp on reality. You know, what's your reality isn't necessarily somebody else's reality. So maybe that was their reality. Maybe it was just by coincidence and by fate that young man had to ask me what my agenda was for India. And, you know, now that it's out there and it's been reminded to the people that are the movers and the shakers of this province, maybe, just maybe in the next 5 years or so, we might start building some schools. Because if we can get on to housing people in Canada, right, at an affordable rate for, I guess, for the ones that are visiting and for the ones that actually live here and the ones that want to move here, well, then we'll be doing good, and then we can get on with building some schools. So, I don't know, people. I'm going to take it to a wipeout board. I'm going to take it to the house. I'm going to upload this today, and then I'll just start fresh with the house video. I don't know when I'll do the house video, because as I do the house video, I want to bring in those wipeout boards, right? Or those charts or whatever. I want to bring in some charts. And I want to make my time on this planet worthwhile, because right now I'm feeling pretty freaking helpless. And if I can put some things into perspective over the next couple of months and then send that to City Hall to a few people that are actually concerned, really concerned about housing the people in the city of Surrey, not to mention the province of British Columbia, Canada, then I guess it will be worth my time. Because a lot of my time is being wasted for things that shouldn't be wasted on. But I can't just sit here and do nothing. And speaking of that, here's another story. I'll make this one quick. When I had this little house, obviously we know my daughter is not well, right? And some of her behavior is just, it's backwards, people. You know, she'll go into people's yards and just start turning on the water hose and doing whatever. She gets lost into a zone, right? You know, she steals people's mail, whatever. I've already taken her to the cop shop. And so anyway, this one lady here, right next door to the house, you know, my daughter was kind of like picking on her yard and stuff. And I guess one day she went out into her yard and just started digging up all her freaking flowers, right? That's how sick my daughter is. She's digging up other people's flowers, right? And so this woman got real mad. And then, you know, she sees me going back and forth and whatever. And, you know, it hasn't been easy. That house wasn't easy. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if the house goes down, people, because that same situation is just going to be there. It doesn't go away. It compounds. It gets worse, right? Just because it's not right next door, it will end up right in your front doorstep, you know, in terms of... I asked her, I said, well, you know, since you got a first-hand experience of my daughter's behavior, right, versus, you know, what I hear or what happens to me, you're an individual, you're completely at arm's length to me, right? You've experienced it. These are your experiences. I said, please write them down and give them to me so that when I go see some doctors or whoever I'm going to go see, I can take your letter and I can show them that my daughter needs help. That's a pretty simple request, people. Okay? How hard is it to say, oh, I came home and there was, you know, so-and-so's daughter in the in my flower bed, ripping up all my flowers and scattering them all over my yard. It's not that hard to write that down. But that shows a behavior that, you know, is not healthy, that helps other people to get the proper help for my daughter. And, you know, this woman, you know, long story short, I seen her yesterday because I'm cleaning up garbage at the house, you know, still doing whatever, right? And she's walking on by, and I said, well, did you think about that letter? Are you going to write me that letter? Because I had already asked her to write me that letter when that happened, right? And all she wanted, oh, your daughter, why don't you look after your daughter? You need to look after your daughter. And I'm like, I'm trying to look after my daughter. I have been trying to look after my daughter for a long fucking time, right? And, you know, and then, yeah, just kept on walking. No. There is a certain category for those kind of people on that chart, and I will not forget to add them in. So we're going to leave it at that because I've got a long day ahead of me. I'm behind on everything right now, people. All right. But I could be living in the Congo and running away from the gorillas. Okay, people, I don't know what kind of bird this is. That's my smoke going by. But it's a different kind of bird. Obviously an endangered bird. I'm afraid if I move, it'll just fly away. There you are. What kind of bird is that? Got orange underneath it. Okay, so here's the situation, people. Alright, got my Marax hat. Do you see it? There it is, right there. Now, this is the classic example of somebody giving you something and then taking it away. That's the only thing I can explain in terms of, in a nutshell. Because as you can see, this siding is coming down, but the problem is this house is going to be ripped apart like within a week or two. I wanted to count the trees, people. Like I said, for every property that they hold on a minute. Okay, so I can only tell you the story here. Do you see this vinyl? I can have this vinyl, okay? That landlord, when I took this house, I'm fighting over vinyl, by the way, because he told me that I could recycle this house, people. Right? I had the means to have the windows, anything I wanted, the wood, the clothesline, all of it. Okay? That gate, more than likely. This, he needs it right now because he's building his house around it. Outside of that, I'm wondering, is that tree gonna go? I don't know what kind of tree it is, but is that tree gonna go? That tree, we know the one in the front is gonna go. These trees will probably go. Probably 3 to 4 trees will be cut. Right, this here looks like a cherry tree or an apple tree. That one right there. That's a fully grown, mature tree that produces fruit. That one right there. Okay, that's a different property. But anyway, let's get on with this. Here's the problem. Because everything's on demolition and lockdown through what do you call it? You know, city code and all that crap, right? It's kind of hard for me to come in here and try and recycle anything, right? So what I've decided to do is I'm going to document this. You know, I'm going to bring it to a chart. Look at myself. Bring it to a chart, right? And then I'm going to send it to city council. Couple of people. A couple of people who have been city councilors for as long as I've been working on the nonprofit, right? And a couple of other people. Well, two or three people anyway. Just to show them the disparity that's going on in our community, right? Because if somebody is making a donation to the foundation to do something, and we can't access the product in terms of recycling the materials in the house that could be recycled because of, you know, committing a crime, even though it's been given to you, right? Then, you know, that's like giving somebody something and then as soon as you give it to them, you take it away. So even though the landlord has given me something, basically through the city codes and all this other crap, through politics, it's being taken away from me. Because it's not like I can hire people to come in here and take it down for me and, you know, sell it for me and then, you know, and then give the foundation a percentage, right? Because I'm not looking for it all. But then, you know, since everybody's been leaving this house, people have been coming by and stealing from this house. The washing machine and the dryer went missing. You know, the drainage pipes are going missing. Little bits of copper here, little bits of copper there is going missing. So, you know, and that's what people can take. The rest of it, like, I don't know how I'm going to get these windows out, people, because I don't have help. I don't have enough help. I have no money, no resources, and I am giving out money here and there, which is from my money. And it's just, I'm looking for houses to help people to house them. And it's just, this is a very, very bad situation. Like, hold on a minute. So yeah, apparently this stuff goes at $9 a feet in terms of this vinyl siding. And then this stuff here, this is new. This is something that they did, people, before they sold the house. This is what this is. This is all reusable. Whether you use it on a shed or a greenhouse or just a patch on a house, there's nothing wrong with it. But within a week or so, it's going to get just completely destroyed because I'm not in a position to do this by myself. Obviously, the people that were motivated to do it have lost interest because there, you know, there's too much pressure around it in terms of, you know, you got to sneak the shit out at night. You know, you got to do it where the city can't see you. You know, so you feel like a fucking criminal, even though it was given to you. It was given to you to pursue. Look at this, to pursue, you know, the mission of the foundation in order to house people. I said, look, if we can sell this stuff right here, you know. Obviously give you some money for taking it down, right? And then the rest of it can go into damage deposit and rent, or mostly damage deposit, because, you know, you're looking at $3,000 rent just for a 5-bedroom house that wouldn't even accommodate a family of 7. Because, oh God, even now I'm walking through freaking spider webs. Ooh. Always walking through spider webs. So anyway, I'm choked, people. Look at this. The big bulldozer is just going to come pick this up. Right? Unless I'm willing to stand out here and take this shit down by myself. And then the people that lived in this house, not one has come forward to help. But they all want housing. They don't want to work for the housing. They just want the housing. You know, and then when they get in, some of these people, what do? They go into a mutiny stage. Right? And then they wonder why others don't want to rent to them. So now there's a cycle of, you know, you're left with renting houses that are only available for a few months, half a year or whatever it is, to end up in a state like this, to be torn down, to build a new one that these people that were born in Canada and need housing, including myself, cannot afford. So it's a very vicious cycle that's going on right now because our economy is based on the housing market and basically nothing more. And yeah, taking old people's money, like medically kidnapping Uncle John and whatnot, right? Propping up dead bodies on machines in the healthcare system for 8 days, so somebody's making a profit off of that, people. Like it's not just the housing market, right? So this beautiful tree will be gone. This one's going to be gone. It'll be no longer here. And then as for every little house that goes, more and more trees will disappear and it'll just end up a big vacant lot like that. And they're going to build ugly buildings. And they're going to, 50 years from now, this whole area will be the new slums of British Columbia, Canada, because it will be condensed housing that will be getting old, because these houses were made in the 1960s, right? A lot of them, like this, probably 1960, because mine was like 60, 62. That's not that old, 50 years, not even 60 years old. There's nothing wrong with this house outside of it's too small, and they want to bring in the big houses for immigration purposes and to stimulate the economy. And because everybody's on a capitalistic agenda for themselves, it makes sense to invest into these projects as an individual, but not realizing the actual harm that they're creating as they're giving things to people, but yet knowing that they can't access it. Right? So why give me the ability to recycle things if I can't have the time to do it? Never mind trying to find the resources, but if you don't have the time to do it, right? Because city bylaws and codes and all that shit just want to move things along, right? They can't say that there's anything poisonous on the outside, because there isn't. And the only thing that's poisonous on the inside, because I've already seen the test results, is the fucking ceiling. And half of Surrey has those ceilings. So, how does that make any sense? All of a sudden it becomes contaminated, this house, because the ceiling, right? Because of the type of ceiling that they used when they made it, that little stucco shit, right? So, this is a big waste, people. A very big waste, right? As they're killing off the damn birds, cutting down all the damn trees, right? Building in house after condo after freaking apartment building, condensed living with no fruit trees, no gardens, right? And then 50 years from now, those buildings will be old because they're using just straight up cedar wood or pine wood or whatever they use in a 2x4. Nothing fancy. These ones here, a lot of them are made with hardwoods, different kinds of woods, so they're better structures. And the newer buildings, not so much. 50 years from now will be the new ghetto. That's how I see it. It's not going to be able to sustain itself, that's for sure. Right? The roof is perfectly fine. Nothing wrong with that roof. But somebody can build a house and turn a profit. A house that benefits nobody that was born in this country. That is below a level of income. And for the ones that do have the income, like the Eleanors in the world, that have been working for the provincial government and in position of power, right, for 40 years or whatever the fuck it is, they're still not happy. They're going around medically kidnapping people for their assets. Like Uncle John. You think Uncle John was an isolated incident? Of course not, people. Of course not. Okay, people, so now we're back. As you can see, we're getting some kind of progress here, right? It's a rough time though. There we go. You see? This is a shot in the dark. We're not too sure what we're doing. We're just doing. We're just testing the waters here. Hold on.